In the heart of the Middle Ages, a fresh civilization emerged across the European continent. Kings and nobles, faith and bloodshed, culture and learning, commerce and invention, all these elements laid the foundation of what would one day become the modern era. This is the tale of how Europe came into being. Back in the first centuries of the Common Era, the mighty Roman Empire dominated the Mediterranean world. It was an age of prosperity and order known as the Pax Romana. People enjoyed security, relative comfort, and a rich cultural life made possible by Rome's centralized government and advanced infrastructure. Yet, far away in the empire's eastern provinces, a new faith began to spread: Christianity. What started as a small Jewish sect slowly expanded into the pagan Roman world. By the 4th century, it had been adopted by the emperors themselves, becoming the official religion of the state. But by then, Rome's golden age was slipping away. The empire groaned under the weight of inflation, disease, famine, and foreign attacks. Its vast territory had become impossible to govern from one center. In 395 CE, it split into two: the Western Roman Empire, ruled from Rome, and the Eastern Empire, with its capital at Constantinople, later known as Byzantium. The East remained urban, wealthy, and strong, while the West became rural, poor, and fragile. Beyond Rome's northern frontiers, Germanic peoples stirred. Pressing on the Rhine and Danube, these tribes, led by warlords and their loyal warriors, forced their way inside the empire. At first welcomed as allies, they soon carved out lands for themselves as Rome's control collapsed. In 476 CE, the Western Empire officially came to an end when the barbarian chieftain Odoacer deposed the boy emperor Romulus Augustulus. Though the young ruler held little real power, his fall marked the symbolic death of Rome. What followed has often been called the Dark Ages. Out of the ruins, a new Europe began to take shape. Romans, Christians, and barbarians blended to form a new civilization. By around 500 CE, the continent was dotted with emerging kingdoms. Their leaders, a fusion of Roman and barbarian elites, slowly converted to Christianity. The Ostrogoths in Italy, the Visigoths in Spain, and the Franks in Gaul were the most prominent. But these states lacked many tools of power. Cities had shrunk, trade routes withered, coins disappeared, literacy collapsed, and violence was widespread. The once thriving western half of the empire had fragmented into countless local communities. While the West was declining, Byzantium flourished. In the 6th century, Emperor Justinian dreamed of restoring Rome's glory. His armies reclaimed Italy from the Ostrogoths, but the victory was short-lived. The Lombards soon swept in, and the East was forced to abandon the hope of full restoration. A new storm was gathering in the south. In the 7th century, Arab armies surged across the Middle East and North Africa, building the vast Islamic Caliphate. What had once been a single Roman world was now divided into 3 civilizations: Islamic, Byzantine, and medieval. By the early 8th century, the Western kingdoms seemed too weak to resist the rising caliphate. Muslim forces conquered the Visigothic kingdom of Spain and raided deep into Gaul. But in 732, at the Battle of Tours, the Frankish leader Charles Martel halted their advance. This victory not only saved Western Christendom, but also set the stage for a new dynasty, the Carolingians. Charles's son, Pepin the Short, seized the Frankish crown and secured papal favor by granting the Pope his own territory in Italy. His son, Charlemagne, took the throne in 768 and began decades of relentless campaigns. By the year 800, he ruled most of Western Europe. On Christmas Day, Pope Leo III crowned him Emperor of the Romans, reviving the title more than 3 centuries after the fall of Rome. Charlemagne's reign sparked the first medieval Renaissance, reviving scholarship, learning, and culture. His empire laid down enduring structures, political institutions, titles, ideas of unity that became the foundation of medieval society. Yet the Carolingian state lacked the infrastructure to remain centralized. After Charlemagne's death, his heirs fought bitterly, and the empire was divided in 843 under the Treaty of Verdun. This left West Francia, future France, and East Francia, future Germany, while the Middle Kingdom soon vanished. The 9th and 10th centuries brought chaos. Europe was attacked from all sides. Vikings pillaged from the north, Magyars swept in from the east, and Muslim raiders struck from the south. Kings lost control, while local lords grew stronger. Castles multiplied across the land. Peasants were tied to noble estates, and knights became the dominant force of war. Power was organized through bonds of loyalty between lords and vassals, a system later called feudalism. By the 10th century, however, stability returned. The climate warmed, harvests improved, and invasions ceased as Vikings and Magyars settled down and converted to Christianity. Royal authority slowly revived in places like England, where Alfred the Great and his successors unified the realm, and in East Francia, where Otto the Great defeated the Hungarians at Lechfeld in 955 and was crowned emperor in 962, founding the Holy Roman Empire. The year 1000 marked a turning point. Agriculture boomed, populations grew, and towns and trade flourished. Merchants gained independence, cities rose, and learning spread. Italy spearheaded a revival of Mediterranean commerce, and universities began to emerge under church patronage. Europe was entering a new phase of confidence and expansion. Normans conquered England in 1066, reshaping its society. In Spain, Christian kingdoms pressed south in the Reconquista. In southern Italy and Sicily, Normans seized lands from Byzantines and Muslims. German nobles colonized the east, while further afield, the Pope called for crusades to reclaim the Holy Land. Though ultimately short-lived, the Crusader states marked the awakening of papal power and a more assertive church. By the 12th century, the papacy had transformed into a powerful, centralized institution under leaders like Gregory VII, who challenged kings for supremacy. The conflict with Emperor Henry IV showed the growing strength of the Church, which now acted as a monarchy in its own right. Inspired by religious ideals, the knightly class embraced chivalry, while kings in England, France, and Iberia gradually built stronger states. The Holy Roman Empire, however, fragmented into countless local principalities. Around 1300, Europe's growth faltered. Climate worsened, famine struck, and then came the deadliest blow. Beginning in 1347, plague ravaged the continent, killing nearly a third of the population. Entire villages disappeared. Yet from this devastation came change. Laborers gained bargaining power, revolts broke out, and in the long run, peasants in the West secured greater freedoms. Despite disaster, innovation surged. Windmills, watermills, metalworking, eyeglasses, and above all, the printing press transformed society. A cultural rebirth spread from Italy, where Renaissance thinkers sought to rediscover and surpass the glory of Greece and Rome. They dismissed the past millennium as dark ages and proclaimed themselves the dawn of a new era. Gunpowder weapons ended the age of the knight and gave kings new strength over their nobles. States like France, England, and Spain consolidated, while the 100 Years' War and the exploits of Joan of Arc shaped national identities. The union of Ferdinand and Isabella created a unified Spain, ending Muslim rule in Granada in 1492. As the Middle Ages drew to a close, Europe had weathered centuries of invasion, famine, and plague, and yet emerged stronger than ever. Its kingdoms were solidifying, its culture flourishing, and its gaze turned outward. Portugal charted sea routes around Africa, and Spain sailed west across the Atlantic. Columbus's voyage in 1492 symbolized the dawn of a new age. The Middle Ages were ending, and the modern world was about to begin.